Daniel's first dividend payment was $1.42. He took a screenshot of it. You're excited about $1.42? He wasn't excited about the $1.42. He was excited about what it represented. The first proof that his money could pay him without him doing anything at all. Today, we're walking through what actually changes at every dividend portfolio size. From that first tiny check to $1 million, the numbers, the mindset shifts, where to actually hold this money, and the mistakes that show up at each stage. All figures here are illustrative examples, not a promise of future returns. Stage 1 is before you own anything, and it's where most people make their first mistake. Drake sees a stock advertising a 12% dividend yield and assumes bigger number means better deal. An unusually high yield is very often a warning sign, not a bargain. It can mean the price has collapsed, or the payout is being funded by something other than real profit and is at risk of being cut. Boring, broad dividend funds yielding somewhere in the 3 to 4% range have a far better record of actually being sustained. Stage 2, $0 to $5,000. This is the prove it to yourself stage. Daniel started with $100 a month into a broad dividend-focused index fund. At this size, the actual dividend income is small, a few dollars a month, and that's fine. Because the real habit being built is automatic investing regardless of what the market is doing that week. Drake tried this stage too, but checked his account daily and got bored waiting for it to do something. He stopped contributing after 2 months. Daniel set his contribution to automatic and stopped checking daily. Before going further, one decision matters more than most people realize. Which account holds this money? A Roth IRA lets qualifying dividends and all growth compound completely tax-free, forever, as long as withdrawal rules are followed in retirement, but annual contributions are capped, $7,500 for most people in 2026. A taxable brokerage account has no contribution limit at all, but dividends are taxed in the year they're received, even if reinvested. Daniel's approach: max the Roth IRA first every year since that shelters the most tax-advantaged growth permanently. Once that's maxed, additional dividend investing goes into a taxable brokerage account. Drake had a Roth IRA sitting empty the entire time. Filling that first would have cost him nothing extra. It's the same dollars, just placed in the more tax-efficient account first. Stage 3, $5,000 to $25,000. This is the least exciting stage, and also the most important one to survive. The dividend income is now real, but still modest, depending on the yield of the fund. Maybe $75 to $100 a month. Reinvested automatically, that income buys more shares, which produces more dividend income, which buys more shares. This is the compounding engine starting up, and it looks almost invisible from month to month. Drake's mistake at this stage is usually withdrawal, pulling money out for a want, which doesn't just remove that dollar amount. It removes every future dividend that dollar would have generated. The mechanism doing all this quiet work has a name: dividend reinvestment, usually shortened to DRIP. Here's what actually happens behind the scenes. When a fund pays a dividend, most brokerages let you set up automatic reinvestment. The cash payout is used the same day or within a day or two to buy more shares of that same fund, including fractional shares. So a $9 dividend doesn't sit as idle cash. It might buy 0.12 shares of the fund immediately. Those fractional shares are just as real as whole shares. They pay their own dividends next quarter, on schedule, at the exact same rate per share as everyone else's holdings. This is why DRIP is often described as the closest thing to a truly automatic compounding machine. Once it's switched on, no decision is required ever again for it to keep working. Stage 4, $25,000 to $100,000. Depending on the fund's yield, this range can start producing something psychologically powerful: dividend income that covers one real recurring expense. A phone bill, a streaming subscription, a car insurance payment. This is the first stage where the portfolio stops being an abstract number and starts being something you can point to and say, this pays for that. It's also the stage where people are most tempted to start spending the dividends instead of reinvesting them. There's no universal right answer here, but every dollar spent instead of reinvested is a dollar that stops compounding. There isn't one correct dividend fund, there are two broad strategies, and knowing the difference matters as the portfolio grows. Dividend growth funds, sometimes built around a list of companies known as dividend aristocrats, firms that have raised their payout for 25 consecutive years or more, typically start with a lower current yield, often 2 to 3%. But the payout itself tends to grow meaningfully most years. High-yield funds start with a bigger number today, often 5% or more, but the payout is more likely to stay flat or occasionally get cut, especially in a downturn. Daniel holds mostly dividend growth funds, with a smaller allocation to higher yield funds for current income. Neither approach is wrong. A growth-tilted portfolio tends to produce more total income 20 years from now. A yield-tilted portfolio produces more income right away. The mistake is chasing yield alone without understanding that trade-off. Stage 5. $100,000 to $500,000. This is where the math starts feeling less like saving and more like momentum. At this size, dividend reinvestment alone, without adding a single new dollar of your own money, starts producing a meaningful chunk of total account growth every year, on top of whatever the underlying investments appreciate in value. This is also the stage where Drake, if he'd stuck with it, would start comparing himself to people spending visibly instead of people building quietly, and feel like he's behind, even while ahead. The snowball stage rewards patience precisely because it doesn't look impressive from the outside. Stage 6, $500,000 toward $1 million. Depending on the fund's yield, again, illustrative, not a promise, a portfolio in this range can start producing dividend income in the range of $15,000 to $35,000 a year, before taxes. That's not quit-your-job money for most people, but it's a real tax-advantaged, if held correctly, income stream that keeps arriving whether or not you show up to work that day. Qualified dividends, dividends from most U.S. stocks held long enough, are taxed at lower capital gains rates rather than ordinary income rates. Which matters more, the larger this number gets. The $1 million mark isn't magic. It's just the point where the earlier stages, the boring $100 a month stage, the invisible compounding stage, the snowball stage, have all quietly finished their work. What changes at $1 million isn't the mechanics, it's optionality, depending on the yield and how the money is held. Dividend income at this size can start meaningfully supplementing or even replacing part of an income, especially alongside Social Security or a smaller 401k balance in retirement. None of these numbers are guarantees. Markets fall as well as rise, dividends can be cut, and every example in this video used illustrative yield assumptions, not a forecast. 0. Avoid the yield trap. Under $5,000, build the automatic habit. Fill the Roth IRA first, then move to taxable. $5,000 to $25,000, survive the boring middle, let drip work quietly in the background. $25,000 to $100,000, the first bill gets covered. $100,000 to $500,000, the snowball takes over. $500,000 to $1 million, real, meaningful income. None of it required a single dramatic decision, just the same automatic default, repeated for years. This video is for educational purposes only and is not personalized financial advice. All dollar figures and yields shown are illustrative examples, not guaranteed or historical returns for any specific fund. Verify current tax treatment of dividends and IRA contribution limits at irs.gov before making investment decisions. If this made the dividend snowball feel more real, subscribe. New videos every week on the personal finance topics school never covered. Next up, why Daniel kept the same car for 10 years, and what Drake's new car every 3 years actually cost.